every galaxy, every star, every planet, and it brought my attention to Earth, and I saw all of humanity. I saw every individual human being, and inside every single one of them, like in a hologram, was a gold fleck of light, of gold, golden light, and it was a little tiny pinprick of golden light, and it was the divine presence inside them, and everybody had it, and everybody was beloved, just like I was beloved. But all around all humanity was a deep, thick fog, and this fog prevented people from seeing it in each other, but it still was there, no matter who they were. It didn't matter who they were. I could see sleeping people. I could see Vietnam. I could see Europe. I could see the United States. I could see all at one time. And everybody was as beloved as me. But everybody was much more blind than me. I could see what I was shown, and everything was made of love and light. And then I was told, then I asked about my parents, and I was shown their faces in particular and all of their suffering that they were living in. And my sister had run away when I was a kid and had broken my family pretty hard. And I saw their lives if I went back to living, and I saw their lives if I stayed in heaven. I was welcomed into heaven. I was welcomed. This is time. Come to me. But I was given this choice, and both choices, my parents suffered. But in the choice without my life, they suffered so much more. But in the end of their lives, on both of these tracks, on both of these timelines, they ended in the same place. And that place was being beloved because they'd always been beloved. And so whether I went or whether I stayed made no difference in the end to them. And I understood that the length of my most previous life as Peter, dying on the ice cliff, was the snap of a finger, was so brief. And that because it was so brief, I thought to myself, oh, well, I could go back and relieve some of their suffering. And I said to the divine, who had no gender, no religion, no form, was all things there are, was so much more than I could comprehend, but it had shown me so much of itself that I understood it as the all in all, the all powerful, intelligent, capable, benevolent being of oneness. And I said, if I go back to help my parents, can I come back here? And the voice that had no sound said inside of me, and it's like getting a download of data with no time. It's just all, it's like a quantum communication of data. Boom, it's there. And in this boom, it's there. It said, of course, you couldn't come back here. You are here. You're always here. You've always been here. You're my beloved. This is home. I say, well, then I choose to live my life. And it says to me, you won't live your life. And it sends me back in an instant. And I didn't tell the part of the story when I died and was carried through a darkness by an angelic being that was all intelligence and the fullness of the divine itself in a reduced form, but so much more powerful than me, much more intelligent than me, the same entity, the same angelic intelligence, this reduction of the fullness of the divine, which is all things there are, is a reduction of the fullness of the divine, everything there is. It reduced itself and carried me as I was sent back. And it told me, you won't live your life. And then it presented me with a million different timelines, about a million different doorways. In the center of all of these doorways was the fullness of light itself. And I could see back sort of over my shoulder into the infinity out of which this light came. And it told me to choose and to choose the light. But all these doorways were all of these possibilities of lives that I could live inside this particular life. And I chose some of myself. I knew that I was being told to be a messenger. I knew that I was told to be inside the light, but I had a little rebellion in me still. And this little rebellion in me didn't want to be in the fullness of the light, but most of the way in the light. I still wanted some of me. And I remember thinking, my reasoning for that was, how can I bring the light to whoever you want me to bring the light to if I'm not flawed, if I'm not human? if I don't have some attachment to my own egoic self. And I chose creativity. I chose communication. I chose language. I had some choices and I made them. And as soon as I made that choice, I was in this doorway and I was traveling down this tunnel. And in this doorway were millions of doors. And all of these doors led to all these different timelines, all in the center of which was the light itself, kind of radiating out through all of them, and like a lotus flower, like all the petals up, and in the center of it is the light itself, but the light pervades all of them. And I then went down this tunnel, and I came to the end of the tunnel, and I got compressed and more compressed and more compressed and smaller, and it was confusing to me what was going on because I had no power at all. And there was my body in front of us, the divine being, the angelic being, the God, the divine, the source. And in front of me was my body lying on the cliff with the hook harnessed into the mountain, was clipped into the mountain with a carabiner and a piece of cord. And I was dangling off the cliff, and there was my body, and it used me like a knife. I was jabbed inside the body in the middle of the chest, and I was twisted on the inside like an auger, like a drill bit. And then I was inside this form, and there was an opening here, like an eye in the middle of my chest. And through this opening, which I had just come through, I could see the angelic being, and I could see back to the edge of infinity. And then it just closed. And as it closed, I became aware of pain. And pain because I had frozen. I was in a terrible condition. I had frostbite. My feet were frozen. I had hypothermia. I hadn't eaten in 24 hours. I hadn't drunk anything. It was in a terrible condition.